I'd like to say thank you to everybody who's came out, who's driven miles and miles away to be here with us today. The ones who've driven a short distance, the ones who came out. All praise due to Allah for y'all coming out and being a part of this peace summit. Not going to hold y'all long. You know, we're going to try to get in and see can we come up with a solution to eradicate our biggest problem. And that's coming together as unified people, collectively. I'm ABDULLAH HANEEF, and I want to welcome y'all to today's Peace Summit. What are we going to do as a people, as a nation? First and foremost, we must grab the ones that's to come behind us. And that's our kids, our seed, our youth. We must instill in them great character, integrity, so that they'll be the one that carry the torch in the long run.
Mom said
Our
you should let me
youth
hold it because you got to
is
sit
very
in the
vital
panel.
and important to us as a
Yes, you have to
people.
sit in the panel.
As we look into their faces every day, we see the next president, we see the next world champion. We really see the next whatever they want to be, because they are the ones that's going to really shape this so-called country that we call America, is our youth. But we got to stop the senseless killing. We got to stop the hate. We just got to stop the violence all around. And I believe if we come together collectively, because it still takes a village to raise a child, we can make something happen. Even if we got to disagree to agree to come together. Because we know that all nations don't like each other, but as a people, they'll work together for a common cause, a common goal to get something accomplished. That's what we got to do. So with that being said, you know, we'll pass the mic to my brother Michael Harris and let him open up with a universal prayer.
We want to first pray for the gentlemen who have made this possible and for the effort that will persist beyond today. Dear Lord, please grant us all safety and protection and hope for a better future. For myself and all of us at Guns Down, Stop Killing, Live Today, the Mark A. Rayner Scholarship Fund Incorporated, we want to thank ABDULLAH HANEEF and LA, God's chosen. All of the men who made this possible, and especially Abdullah in LA. Personally, I can say I may not have your brand of courage, but I thank God for giving me the wisdom to see your vision of a better future. It is a future where, because of you, Abdullah, because of you, LA, our graduation will be seen. An experience that may have been missed because of you. A child will grow to adulthood and know his or her parents. Because of you, some young person will miss the chance to be imprisoned for life. Because of you, children will play without fear in places designated for them. Because of you, fewer media headlines will be laden with stories of killing, anger, fear, and loss due to violence. Because of you, others will be emboldened and work for peace and nonviolence. It is only fitting and just that we should have this sort of meeting on a street named for a man who, along with many others, worked for the cause for which we are gathered today. These are the important things. This is the importance that you, Abdullah, and you, LA, may not realize, but it's happening. Because of you, many people will live without sadness, long lives, maybe even well into the future. The legacy of what you have offered will be seen. Such a man's spirit as Ralph David Abernathy, along with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., is smiling down on you. They're knowing that you will bring much joy to many lives because you will save many lives. We at Guns Down, Stop Killing, Live Today, the Mark A. Rayner Scholarship Fund, congratulate you, and we pray that your message of peace spreads worldwide and leaves us with much less fear and violence. How blessed we are that you have committed this act today, and may many others follow your example. I guess now what we ought to do is hand the mic over to LA and have him speak.
Well, praise God. How everybody doing this afternoon? Praise God. I don't take this for granted. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank Abdul for inviting me here. And the situation, peace. Bottom line is no peace in the streets, and that's what it's all about. We need peace. Amen? Amen. Amen, amen, amen. And I hope you don't mind. I like to stand up. I don't like to just be sitting still. Yes. Sitting still and wow. You know, I talked to this brother on the phone a few weeks ago, and I checked him out on Facebook. And I like people. I only run with people who's the solution. Now, I used to be the problem. Today, I'm qualified and certified and seasoned to be on the mic and do what I do. And I boast about that. Yes. But that's all from the authority and power of God. Amen? Amen. Amen. Peace. Now, he wanted me to give a little bit of testimony on about me and my lifestyle. Number one, let me walk up front. Yes. Walk up front. Once again, I go by the name of LA. I'm one of God's chosen. And I boast about that because I'm truly am one of his chosen. I'm from Los Angeles, California. How many people in here seen the movie Redemption with Jamie Foxx? Yes. The movie was based on Big Tookie. Yes. Well, Big Took used to be my boss, my leader, my king for 19 years strong in Los Angeles. I ended up joining the gang. Everybody think you have a choice to join the gang or not. If you ain't never been in no gang or been in certain shoes, you don't even know what you're talking about. I didn't have no choice. I had to do it. Praise God, I'm out of it today. But anyway, my testimony goes this. I became one of the leaders of the biggest gang in LA today, the Rolling 60 Crips. I was on the set for 19 years strong. Did whatever I had to do to keep that position. Whatever I had to do. And one of the things I hated, number one, I hated myself. If I hated myself, you better best believe I hated you. And the second thing I hated, without a shadow of a doubt, was that color red. It was something about that color. I would blow your head off stepping to me the wrong way with that color on. But that was the darkness I was caught up in. My mother, she was a very strong Christian woman. Very strong Christian woman. But see, I'm finna go all the way back, just a little bit. When I was in the 7th grade, couldn't wait to go to junior high school, used to hear about gangs, see gangs that want to have nothing to do with it. Scared to death. I was scared of everything and everybody. But this particular day, first day of school, I had to walk up to Western and 71st, catch the bus to get to Fauché Junior High School. And as I was standing at the bus stop with a bunch of other people ready to go to school, While we waiting on the bus, man, a bunch of Crips come up, these brothers and blues come up, A-Trade gangster Crips, man. And they beat everybody down, took our lunch monies and everything. But we still had to go to school. So we jumped on this bus, went down a few blocks, then another gang got on the bus with all this red on, Van Ness boys. Did the same thing. Finally, we got to my school bus stop. Got off the bus, Harlem Crips, same thing. Man, I was dealing with this for almost a month straight. And I used to run home from school when I got off that bus to get in that room. And you know, my mother was a strong Christian woman, always talking about this Jesus, man. And I used to hate her for always talking about Jesus to me. I don't want to hear about no Jesus. Well, why? I lost 2 brothers, lost a father, and almost lost my mother. Didn't want to hear about no Jesus. I used to pass the bedroom door sometimes at night. She'd be in there on her knees talking about this Jesus. And look at me and ask me to come off and then get on my knees and pray too. I used to say, my mother, you out your mind. I ain't finna do nothing like that. By then, I'm heavyweight in the Crip life. Heavyweight in the Crip life. And I'm finna jump the gun real quick. This particular night, years down the line, I'm big time rolling now. And I went to this club. And as I came out the club, when I drove up on the club and got out the limousine, there was about 4 or 5 people over there with red on, and they was pointing at me. Well, I just came from my cousin's funeral. So right now I'm kind of on tilt. I'm, you know, bent, drinking, and not really paying no attention. So when I come out the club, 2 of these brothers from that pack walked over to me and put a shotgun in my chest. I said, man, what in the world is going on, cuz? They said, blood, we was paid to do this. So by this time, one of my homeboys seen the shotgun in my chest, and he started shooting in the air. When he started shooting in the air, they turned to look that way. When they did that, I came out with my gat. Young bucks. Didn't know who they was messing with. When they turned around, my gat was on them. They dropped their guns and started crying like punks and said they was sorry. Well, it's too late for all that. You know, this is real gang life. I busted and they give about nothing. But my testimony starts with this. Never felt bad about shooting nobody, especially if he's trying to take my life. Now this is war in the street, this is real stuff. We gonna get to the peace stuff, but this is real stuff. But I got home this particular night, never felt bad about shooting nobody, and I'm crippling to the fullest. But something happened to me when I got home. I started feeling bad, started hating myself, started feeling shame. I was even hurt by what I did to those people. I found myself doing something that I swore I would never do. I found myself falling to my knees, crying out to that same Jesus I used to hear my mother cry out to. Now that was the beginning of me leaving the streets. A lot of my friends was kind of laughing at me. Daryl Strawberry, Ice-T, and a few other brothers. Hardcore Crips, nah, man, you gonna always be a Crip. Yeah, I wanted to always be a Crip. I wanted to die a Crip. But little did I know that God had different plans for me. So back then, I used to recruit brothers to join our gang and give their life for something dumb. But those days is over. The day I'm hitting these streets today, recruiting brothers to do the right thing for the kingdom. Amen?
Amen.
Man, he should get a hand clap or something, not me. If everybody in here was me, you'd smoke. Straight up. And you know, I apologize, but I don't come to sugarcoat nothing. The streets don't sugarcoat nothing, the TV or the music. And the kids is eating that crap up. So why I'm gonna sugarcoat something? It's about saving a life, not taking a life. Amen?
Amen.
Now getting back to the problem. I was one of the problems. But see, I was caught up in darkness and didn't even know it. But that darkness was a generational curse. A whole bunch of you are still caught up in because you don't know any better yet. What you mean by that, LA? Well, if your parents didn't have any identity, their parents didn't have any identity, what makes you think your kids got any identity? I don't know if y'all heard that. I'm gonna prove a point. What's your name, sir? Jawan. I don't know nothing about sports. What's your favorite sport? Who's your favorite player? Tell me a little bit about him.
6'4", he can dunk, fast, MVP,
What school you come from?
North Bay.
Do you know anything about him before that, college or anything?
Like, do I want to go to college?
No, him.
Oh, he went to UCLA.
Okay, what else you know about him? Share with me. What else you know about him?
From Los Angeles.
Okay.
And he lost his best friend when he was younger.
I thank you for that information. Now, he told me some information about a person he never met before. A person who never met him, don't know nothing about him. Zero. Person don't even care about him. Do me a favor. Tell me about you.
I'm 16. I'm in 11th grade. I like to play basketball. Just hang out. And yeah, that's about it.
Did y'all catch that? I don't think y'all caught that. He told me more about a stranger he never met before, somebody who don't even care about him. When I asked him to tell me about him, he told me this much. What's wrong with that picture? In other words, we need to spend more time on learning who we are, what we are, and whom we are. Amen? Amen. That goes for everybody. That's me too. That's me too. But get back to this peace thing. Caught up in darkness. So many black brothers and sisters is caught up in madness. The streets is real. The streets will eat you up. The streets is undefeated. Still hold a heavyweight belt for years before I even was born. What's the solution? I have some idea what some of the solution can be. Number one, love.
Yes. Yeah.
Love. It's something about love that'll make a person want to do right. Make a person want to love one another person. I mean, to me, when love is in the picture, peace is right behind it.
Right.
Hold up.
Yeah.
If love is in the picture, peace is right there too. A lot of us today, even myself, I'm just learning how to love myself. So if I'm just learning how to love myself at this age, and your mama and daddy is off in the house, and you off in the house, and ain't that much peace in the house, must not be that much love in the house. But if y'all don't know how to love yourself, how you going to teach the kids how to love themselves? And if the kids don't know how to love themselves, all that's going to turn into hate, malice, and ugliness. It's going to overflow back into the street. You know, I tell a lot of parents when I talk at a lot of TV shows and youth shows, parents, please love your kids. Just don't say you love your kids. Love your kids. Hug them. Look at them in the eye. Let them know that you love them. Do anything in the world for them. Because I'm going to tell you this, and I know all of you, probably everybody in here been through this. If you really don't feel that love and you've been in the streets, you know the streets gonna love you a whole lot. And once the streets start loving you and your kids fall in love with the street, it ain't gonna be no guarantee you gonna get them back. And people keep asking why there's no peace in the street. Why is pain, hurt, drugs, gangsters, killing, robbing, stealing? Love ain't nowhere. If love ain't nowhere, peace ain't nowhere. So I'm going to leave you with this. I didn't want to take too long, but love is very important. And once we learn and practice how to love ourselves and understand there's something greater that loves us, and then we can get to connect and love each other, that'll help. Yeah. It's more than a Band-Aid. Right. Amen?
Amen.
Once again, I'm LA, one of the guys chosen. If you have any questions, anything, talk to me a little bit, all right?
Thank you, brother. Thank you for that well presentation right now, well put together. Next, we have Sister Rolanda Harris, Guns Down, Stop the Killing, the Mark A. Ryan Foundation. Sister here is real dynamic. When I first met the sister, you know, we shared information and everything. Been working together ever since, you know, and she's just like my little big sister, you know what I'm saying? Her and her mom and her pops, you know. I can always pick up the phone, call them. I know one day out the week they're gonna call me just to say, Abdullah, how you doing, you know? Just like with the brother LA, you know what I'm saying? It's all about building that bond. And before I leave, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna share some steps of peace to bring together so that we can all formulate and take this a step higher. I'd like to introduce y'all to Rayner Harris, y'all.
Thank you so much, my brother. I have to say that it is my honor and such a pleasure to be here with you all today. And I want to thank you so much, Abdullah, for having me. When we first met, it was just we bonded, just off the top. And it was just natural. And ever since then, this has been my brother. And I feel like I've been knowing you all my life. And I want to thank you and let you know I love you very much. And I'm just so happy to be here with everybody today. And we all have the same goal, the same things that we want to do, is to stop violence, stop killing. And I'm here with my other brother, LA, God's chosen, who I love very much. We all have come together and we have a strong bond. And it's just, like I said before, it's natural. We didn't have to work at it, it just came. It fell right in place from the moment that we all met. My name is Rayner Harris, the CEO and founder of Guns Down, Stop Killing, Live Today, the Mark A. Rayner Scholarship Fund team. I started my organization many years ago, my mother and I, because of the loss of my brother, Mark A. Rayner, who was a heavyweight boxing champion. Just before turning pro, my brother was killed in an attempted carjacking in the spring of 1993. My brother was going on to do great things. He had his whole life in front of him. We started out on our journey together and our paths together, and we were strong. Our mothers taught us how to be strong, how to be powerful. She gave us the knowledge, and she told us that we can be anything we want to be. So that's what my brother and I started out on, my big brother. And my brother, he trained every day. He loved many people, and people loved my brother. And there was nothing that he wouldn't do for a person. It truly was not. My brother's case was a high-profile case. My mother and I, we had to go at least 3 years before we would find justice. But I want to go back a bit. I want to talk about what happens when you lose your loved one. The devastation, the hurt, the sorrow, the pain. All of these things we never really think about until it happens to us. Now, I come from a big family in Michigan, and my mother comes from a big family. My grandparents had 14 children. And so when you grow up in the inner city, my mother came from Detroit, so they didn't have a lot growing up, and so my mother knew the struggle. My mother's brothers, my uncles, they knew the struggle. And so they knew how to tell us what to look out for. So growing up, my mother laid a beautiful foundation, a strong foundation for my brother and I and the rest of my family. My mother adopted several children, her and my father, and they were a beacon of hope, and they were a light for everyone. My mother would look at a child and she would say, I don't want to read their backstory. I want to take my child home with me, and I want to just love them, teach them, nurture them, give them a bottle and a blanket if that's what they need, and nurture them and love them and keep them warm and safe. I don't need to know about what happened before they came to me. I'm their mother now, and this is how we're going to do it. So I came from a strong, strong family, going back to my grandmother, Ruth Rayner, who would have cookouts on the block, and the house was always open. They always kept an open door policy, her and my grandfather, Leonard Rayner. So I come from a family of loving people, when you could leave your door open and let the neighborhood come in and have something to eat. And I believe that if we do what we're doing today, we can see those days again, and even better. So I say all that to say, going back to me as a young teenage girl, my brother and I, we grew up so close. My brother Mark was always my protector, my hero, my strong force, my mentor. He was always there for his baby sister. And I never had to worry about looking to my left or my right or behind my back, because I knew my brother was there and he had his baby sister covered. And so my mother taught us growing up to be very close, be very strong. You know, all you have is each other. And so that's what we grew up in. My brother and I, we were always together. When my brother would go and he would have his fights, when he was training for big fights, You know, baby sister was always there with him. When I was there getting ready to go out and do great things with my music, and whether it was going to a show or do a video or just any little thing, my brother was there. He was there for his baby sister to pick me up from school. You know, he would never miss a beat. He would never miss a time, and he was always on time. And so I could depend on my big brother. So I say all that to say this. When someone takes your loved one from you, there's no pain in the world that's more enormous than that. And some people aren't as strong as others. I thank God for coming from a family, my mother teaching us and my grandmother teaching us to be strong, even when we didn't want to be. So when my mother got the call that night, earlier that night, we were all sitting on the couch. My mother and my brother and I, we were clapping, we were happy, we were preparing for Mother's Day, and my brother's birthday was to come shortly, you know, in two weeks. And so my little nephew, Mark Jr., he was running around the house playing, and everybody, the whole family was around, my father, everybody. And we were all happy. And I remember looking out the window, we had a beautiful picture window, and my brother said to keep the blinds open because he just loved to look at the beautiful scenery. And it was a peaceful scenery that night. Lord knows that I would have never thought that I would have lost my brother that night. And Lord knows that my mother would never have thought that she would have lost her son and my nephew to lose his father and the rest of our family. When my mother got the call, our whole world changed. I know at that moment, I don't know what I was thinking, but I just knew that something was wrong. We paid my brother and we called him several times and we got no answer. So we went down to the scene. My uncle came out and he told us what he thought had happened. My uncle Donald Rayner, who I love so much, and he's always with me, his spirit is always with me, and he was so close with my brother. So when he gave us that news, it had broke his heart. And so I knew the way that he was giving us the information, that something was terribly wrong and that we needed to get to my brother. My brother was a very strong man, a very powerful man, fearless man. And sometimes in life, with jealousy, hatred, greed, animosity, sometimes in life you can just be doing what you're doing and just being you as a person, doing great things, a heavyweight boxing champion. And somebody hates you for everything that you are and all the things that they're not. But that's not something to hate somebody for. You have to love yourself in order not to hate somebody else. So I go back to saying, when I went to the scene, I saw my brother's Jeep near the pole. It was right by a gas station, and my brother wasn't in the Jeep. So at that time, I already knew something was terribly wrong. So my mother and I began to cry. My mother said, you gotta stay strong because there's still hope. So we went to the hospital. I'm going to the hospital and I'm asking them, have you seen, is my brother here? You know, is he okay? My mother doing the same thing. And I began to describe my brother. And so at this point, my family, they're all frantic, they're you know, enraged. And when the doctor told us to go into the room, he explained to us what had happened. And at this point, my whole world had changed. And one day in the future, I'll go into more details in my brother's murder and what happened. It's a lot to discuss all in one time, but sometimes I like to take people into my life, into my story, and so that they can see what it is for them and what they can avoid in life. And that's why I have Guns Down, Stop Killing, Live Today, the Mark A. Rayner Scholarship Fund, Inc. To stop killing, stop violence, keep families together. I don't want to see mothers cry like my mother had to cry. I don't want to see a baby sister or a son or daughter, grandparents, uncles, aunts, family members having to cry and shed tears over their loved one, watching their caskets close and be lowered into the ground and soil cover your loved one who you were just sitting with maybe 6 days prior. It gives me chills when I talk about it, but it's real. Yes. And so that night, when I was at the hospital, I looked at my brother through the window and I saw a sense of peace in my brother's face. My mother was standing right with me and I was hysterical. I didn't want to sing. I didn't even know if I was going to make it. I didn't even want to live. But my mother said, she took me by the hand and she said, you got to be strong because your brother is about strength. He's never been about anything weak, always strength. So I looked at my brother And I said, okay, I gotta do this for my big brother, because he didn't raise me to be soft, he raised me to be tough, my mother and my brother, my father. So we're warriors. So even when you wanna be sad and you wanna cry, I never would let people see or feel or know my real emotions. And as years went by, I started to discuss more about what I really was feeling, because I kept it bottled up, because I didn't want anybody to know. Because in my family and how I was raised, we take that as a sign of weakness, that you can't really let people know how you feel. But sometimes when you open up and you share things, you begin to help someone else. You begin to be the voice for the voiceless. You begin to be a face for those who feel like they would never be seen. And that's what's so strong and powerful about all of us being here today, is that when you come together with one voice, collectively, all of us having our own organizations, all of us having things that we do, but we come together in love, peace, and unity. Because one thing for sure, nothing about life is a separate entity. When we walk out of our door, none of us are safe, none of us are exempt. We all have that thought in the back of our mind, and sometimes in the front of our mind, that when you leave your home, you may not make it back. But you pray to God every day that you do. And you keep that faith in knowing that you do. And so with my crusade, Guns Down, Stop Killing, Live Today, the Mark A. Rayner Scholarship Fund, it is not something that I can do alone, or just my family or my organization or people that I know. I want the world's. It's a world cause. And the highest calling on the face of this earth is to stop killing, to keep families together, save lives, not take lives. So I go on to say, through the years, I would go to schools and universities as a young girl, and I would talk about stopping the killing. I was with SCLC at the time. They embraced me with open arms, my family and I, so I knew what it was to be amongst greatness and people doing something for our communities and loving our communities and wanting everyone to be safe and to be okay and for families to stay together. So what I say today is that with all of that, you can be strong, you can be powerful, and don't let anything ever take away your love, take away that peace within you. We have our t-shirts, Guns Down, Stop Killing, Live Today t-shirts, and so when I see people wearing the t-shirts, wearing our t-shirts, it's spreading love across the world. And it's a sign to say that I can be a walking billboard of love. Now, I'm not against protecting your families and protecting yourself. I'm not against the Second Amendment right. But what I am against is someone senselessly taking someone's life and killing someone. Because when you go that far, there's no coming back. My mother and I, we were blessed when we were able to have justice. And the person that shot my brother, there was several people involved, and the person that pulled the trigger, we were able to go to court. The FBI came. It was a federal case, a very high-profile case because of my brother being a heavyweight champion. And the situation was, when I was able to sit in that courtroom, and the judge was so gracious to let me stand up and tell this individual exactly what I wanted to tell him. I had other family members that were speaking as well, but I wanted him to know that baby sister, Mark Rayner's sister, was coming from a strong place, and that my big brother didn't die, he multiplied. Amen. And so Mark Rayner lives on, and his legacy continues, and today I sit among so many wonderful people in this room, and I thank God for this opportunity, because when you see greatness, and when you see families going through so much pain and hurt, you want to be able to find justice. You want to be able to find a place in yourself that you can say, I have justice for my loved one. And so my mother and I, we went on a mission, and we would not stop. And it goes to show you how God works in your life. Because Special Agent Paul Source, who we love so much, we lost him later on in years, he came to our house, and he was our guardian angel. Because of him, we were able to get justice for my big brother, Mark A. Rayner, who everyone loved. And I sat in that courtroom, it had to have been somewhere around 1998, in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And the individual couldn't look at my uncle, he couldn't look at my family. He wanted to look for a little bit, and he wanted to do a stare down, but I knew he was crumbling. He had already crumbled. So when you do bad things to people, no matter how much you think you get away with it, in some way, punishment will come. And sometimes you have to just let God do what he's going to do. And God is the one that has to be that person, that one to say, this is how it's going to be for that person, that individual that took your loved one from you. So to say all that, I stood up. The individual couldn't look me in my face. He couldn't look me in my eyes. And I wanted him to, but he wouldn't do it. He couldn't do it because he's saying strength. Everybody was wearing my brother's t-shirts, and Mark Rayner had overrun the courtroom. His spirit was strong, and he lived on. And so at that time, he told the judge that he was sorry, and he was begging for our forgiveness. Now at that time, that's not something that I could even think of accepting. And so I saw that man, that individual, when the judge told him how much time he was sentenced to, over 50 years in prison for the death of my brother, Mark A. Rayner. I saw him crumble. I saw him fold right before my eyes. And when he stood up, he could barely walk out of the courtroom. And so I don't say that to say it in a way to be different, so to speak. I say that in a way to be right. Because when wrong things take place in your life, justice needs to take place. And God is the one that takes care of that in His way, in His time. I would like to say again, I just thank everybody. LA, I thank you so much. Abdullah, I thank you. And we talked about bringing current and former gang members together and just people all over the world in general. And it's a beautiful thing when you can see people come together and put aside their differences and say, we come in peace. And like you said, LA, you said, where there's love, there's peace. Where there's no love, there's never peace. So when you get to the heart and soul and the mindset of a person and recondition them, recondition their thinking, because everybody that does something bad or kills somebody or does something that shouldn't have been done, that person is not always a bad person. That person may have been driven to become that type of person. That person may have had something bad happen in their life that caused them to do these things. That person may have not had the proper love in their life that may have caused them to feel this way. And so I say that in the communities that we do all that we can do to find a solution, and we're doing that right now. We're finding the solution. To create jobs, to create resources and outlets. Because every young man, every young woman, everyone wants to feel good about themselves. Everyone wants to feel loved. Even the person that you might think is the worst person in the world. He may have murdered several people, but that person has a heart. And that person may not have wanted to do it, but they were just caught in the wrong situation. So what I say, even with mass incarceration, it's not always about keeping people locked away forever. Let's get to the souls of the individuals, because they're people as well. And so we want to turn this around in a positive way and be a blessing in someone's life. With the Mark A. Rayner Academy of Boxing, we want young youth. I see a lot of young youth in here today that just came in. I see you guys. I see you. I'm so proud of you. My niece Eliana Harris, I'm so proud of you, because you all are our future. We sit here today and we protect you. That's why we're here today, is to protect you, because you are our future. You're the youth. So we sit here today, and tomorrow is your day. So we're proud of you, we love you, and all of us coming together here today, we band together and we said, no more. Everybody's tired. And sometimes tired isn't even the word, it's more than that. But tired is the word we use because we're tired. And so I want to say I love you all. We have t-shirts in the back of the room, you know, they range from $20 to $30. Guns Down, Stop Killing, Live Today t-shirts. And I want this crusade, I want this movement, this mission to be a world movement. Not just about Guns Down, it's about Guns Down helping everyone and all of us coming together and helping every organization in this room. Cedric Sims is in the building today, and he's so important to us because he is always about our communities and helping others. And Cedric, I want to say thank you so much. And if you would like to speak, I would love for you to. That would be so wonderful. Thank you, Cedric.
Well, I thank you, Ms. Harris. Thank you, Brother Abdullah. Thank you, brother, for your compelling story. And of course, you know, all y'all Power to the people, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Well, I got a similar story to a lot of you, but I'm not gonna get into all that because I'm not gonna glorify it, because I've been shot. I have a son that was thrown from a car. He was out there trying to deal drugs, got thrown from a car, busted his head, almost died, twice on the operating table. And right today, he's 45 years old. He still got enough, and his hand is like this because his brain was completely demolished when he was about 18 years old. So it ain't no joke what side of the crime you on. You the victim or you the perpetrator? Because all of us be the perpetrator once in a while. But what I would like to talk about is that even though we're passing on a baton to our younger generation, as we did to you, if you're in your 50s, 60, 50, 40, you're supposed to be running this country. So what better information that you can give to your child? They can look upon his dad, and say, well, my dad did this, or he tried to do this. I saw him do this. That's the way you want your son, your children, your daughters to look at you. I was talking to my sister the other day, and she was saying something about one of my sisters married a weak guy. She said, I don't know how she do that because, I was raised up around strong men. My daddy, you, and our other brother Gary, that's all I knew was strong men. So I couldn't accept anything less, right? So, okay, I'm just patting myself on the back a little bit. But that's what's up. When your children see that in you and your mothers and your father see that in you, they're going to reflect that. Like I heard Sister Harris talking about. Her brother reflected that, and she could never get that out of her mind, and she attracts people around her like that, and she's going to stand up strong too because it gives her a certain amount of strength. But what I would like to talk about is that Thursday night, 3 young men were sitting in the car. Some people drove up and shot in the car. Struck one man in the head 2 times. Another man was shot, was wounded. The guy in the back seat got away. The young man drove to his grandmother's house trying to get some help. Make a long story short, he died Friday morning. Right? I went over there to see the family. I can tell you a lot of stories, but you have to come out there and see a mother and father hours later after they found their son was dead. And another mother sitting up there trying to talk to the detective. He seemed real interested in what's going on in the house and the neighborhood that he knew who killed his son. I had to go in there and tell him, I said, wait a minute, be careful what you say and seek help from a counselor, even though you're the victim, right? Of course, he ran me out of the house and said, sir, you got to leave. After a while now, the officer give you command 2 or 3 times, it's best to make the move out of the way, right? But if it had to come to it, I'm going to give up my life, been there, done that, for the cause back in the 60s and 70s. But what I want to say is that is so hard, and I go out there in the community. I suggest when you hear about that, right? Go out to the community, go to the people, hold their hands. You don't have to be no part of an organization, be somebody important. If you know a resource they can get, go out there and talk to them directly. And when the cameras leave and you come back out there, you still holding their hand, no cameras out there, they appreciate that. And guess what? They're going to play it forward. They're going to pass it on. So that's what's up. That's what's important. I did that, and before then, a few days before that, young man was shot in his house, right? Guy came in there, shot him 3 times in the head, went downstairs for some reason, came up and shot him in the floor, right? Yeah, that's happened in Austell, Georgia. This last one happened in Southwest Atlanta. That happened in a few days ago. I went to that one. And you know what? We had a beautiful candlelight vigil. You know what the neighbors said? The cameras wasn't out there, nothing like that. I wasn't trying to get no notoriety. I did post on Facebook because I am trying to give organizations up and try to get some help these people, right? But they appreciated that somebody cared to ask them, what can we do and how can your neighborhood be safe, right? That's what's important. That's the only thing important is about the people and the families that's going through this trauma. That's the only thing I can do. And when I went out to the candlelight vigil, a guy was named last year, he had the same night, his name was Cedric. He got shot and was dumped in back of somebody's house, a stranger's house. They didn't find him till the next day. And we went out to the candlelight vigil and I laid it on him. I told the kids, what's up? What's happening? And you know, they came and said, oh, that could have happened to me. And that's what I wanted to hear because I got the message out to them. They knew that it wasn't across the street, it wasn't on the other side of town, it wasn't across the country, it was right there. It was somebody they knew, went to school with, they liked, they played football and everything. That's what I wanted them to know. They copied that. And you know what I told them fools out there that thought they were gangbangers and come snickering and everything? I said, boy, let me tell you something about prison. Come on. Prison real. And you everybody talk about, oh yeah, you gotta worry about being a homosexual. No, that's the last thing you worried about, somebody turning you up. Trust me, survival and life is your main concern, and the other concern is getting up out of that belly of the beast. You know, I had that opportunity, misfortune to find out, I found the law. I was in a situation where people were burning people alive in their cell. You know, you could smell the flesh of them burning. You know, it ain't no joke. Really, you go in there with a 5-year bid, can get out there in 3 or 4 months and wind up dying in there getting a license. I seen the guy scared 50 times and throw it from the top tier. He was in there for 5 years for a minor drug offense. He would have been out in a matter of months, dead. And you know what the police did? See, I thought I was a bad dude. You know, I could fight. I could stand there and fight them till I don't care how many, till the police show up and rescue me. You know what the cops did? They came out the cell, slammed that door 3 times and locked it and left them in there. I said, oh my God. All them big bad boy days was out the door. You know, so let me tell you something. You might be bad now, but you could be a victim tomorrow. You know? And at least, and just one last thing, I say, but if you hear that, please go out and talk to those people. Hug them. Give them a kind of service that you can give them, right? Bring them in, bring them to your church. Bring them food like we used to do back in the day. Bring them here. Do